I stood on Amanda's front porch on December 20th, holding homemade gingerbread cookies and wrapped Christmas presents. When she opened the door, she blocked the entrance with her body and said coldly that I wasn't welcome for Christmas this year. No explanation, just a flat rejection. My son Brandon stood behind her, silent, avoiding my eyes. I felt my heart crack. I'd been helping pay their mortgage for 3 years. I smiled, turned around, walked to my car, pulled out my phone, and made one call to my financial advisor. The drive home felt like moving through water. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. 20 minutes of silence except for the hum of tires on cold pavement. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there in the dark for 10 minutes, staring at nothing. Inside my house, I made tea I didn't drink, and stood at the kitchen window looking out at the backyard where Frank used to hang Christmas lights. He'd been gone 3 years now. 3 years of trying to fill that emptiness by being useful, by being needed, by being there for Brandon and his family. The mortgage situation started right after Frank's funeral. Brandon and Amanda had been renting a small apartment, barely making ends meet on Brandon's manufacturing job and Amanda's work at the accounting firm. They wanted to buy a house before their second baby arrived. But their credit wasn't strong enough. The bank said no. Brandon called me crying, actually crying. He was 28 years old, about to become a father of 2, and he felt like a failure. I remember sitting in this same kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my only child break down. What was I supposed to do? Let him struggle? Let my grandchildren grow up in that cramped apartment with paper-thin walls? So, I became the co-signer. I put my name on that mortgage loan, tied my financial future to theirs. The monthly payment was $2,400. Brandon and Amanda could manage $1,200 if they were careful. I agreed to cover the other $1,200 every month. It seemed like a good investment. It seemed like love. For 3 years, I paid. Every single month. $1,200 transferred from my account to theirs. I never missed a payment. Never complained. Never held it over their heads. At least, I didn't think I did. I also bought groceries when I visited. Bags and bags of food. Diapers, clothes for Emma and Noah. I babysat twice a week, so Amanda could work late. I was there for every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every small crisis. I thought I was being a good mother, a good grandmother. Now, sitting in my quiet house on December 20th, I pulled out my phone and called Gerald, my financial advisor. He answered on the second ring. Valerie, everything okay? Gerald, I need you to stop the mortgage payments to Brandon and Amanda's account. Effective January 1st. No more transfers. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, are you sure? You've been making those payments for 3 years. I'm sure. You're listed as co-signer, so you have every legal right to stop contributing. But Valerie, if they can't cover the full payment, they'll default. That affects your credit too. I understand. Stop the payments. All right, I'll set it up. The last payment will go through on December 31st. After that, nothing. I hung up and sat in the dark. My heart was pounding. Part of me felt powerful. Part of me felt sick, but mostly, I felt hurt. Deeply, impossibly hurt. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the moment on the porch. Amanda's cold eyes. Brandon's silence. The door closing in my face. No explanation. No kindness. Just rejection. The next morning, my phone rang at 8. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Good morning, Amanda. Valerie, hi. Her voice was bright, sugary, completely different from yesterday. I'm so glad I caught you. Listen, there's been a terrible misunderstanding about Christmas. Of course you're welcome. I don't know what I was thinking yesterday. Holiday stress, you know? I said nothing. Let her fill the silence. So, anyway, we'd love to have you for Christmas dinner. Same as always. 2 o'clock? You can bring those delicious cookies you make. What changed, Amanda? What? Nothing changed. I just realized I was being silly. Your family. Yesterday, I wasn't family enough to come through the door. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Oh, Valerie, you're so sensitive. It was just a bad day. So we'll see you Christmas Day, right? Is there something you need to tell me, Amanda? Another pause. When she spoke again, the sweetness was strained. Well, since you mention it, there is something we should discuss. Brandon's been let go from his job at the plant. Budget cuts. It happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. My son had been unemployed for 2 weeks and nobody told me. We're managing, Amanda continued quickly. But things are tight. Really tight. So we were hoping you might consider increasing your monthly contribution to the mortgage. Maybe from $1,200 to $1,800? Just temporarily, until Brandon finds something new. There it was. The real reason for the Christmas invitation. And if I don't agree to pay more? Her voice hardened. Then I think it's best if we have some space. For everyone's sake. Including the children. Emma and Noah don't need to be around tension. Are you saying I can't see my grandchildren? I'm saying that family relationships require support. Mutual support. If you're not willing to help us when we need it most, then maybe we need to reevaluate our arrangement. My hand shook holding the phone. This wasn't a request. It was extortion. She'd engineered the Christmas rejection to create leverage, to make me desperate enough to pay more. I need to think about it, I said quietly. Well, don't think too long. Christmas is in 5 days. It would be such a shame if Emma and Noah didn't see their grandmother. She hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there holding the phone, understanding flooding through me. Yesterday's cruelty wasn't random. It was strategy. Amanda had calculated exactly how to hurt me, exactly how to manipulate me into giving her what she wanted. And she'd used my grandchildren as weapons. The realization made something cold settle in my chest. Something hard. I'd already told Gerald to stop the payments. Now I knew I'd made the right call. I spent 3 days wrestling with myself. Part of me wanted to call Amanda back and tell her exactly what I thought of her manipulations. But another part, the part that remembered Emma's laugh and Noah's sticky hugs, wanted to find a way through this that didn't end in total war. On December 23rd, I called Brandon's cell phone directly. He answered on the 5th ring. Mom. Brandon, we need to talk. Without Amanda. I can't really. Please. Just talk to me. Why didn't you tell me about your job? He sighed, and in that sound I heard exhaustion. I was embarrassed. I'm 28 years old, and I can't even keep a job. Can't provide for my family. Losing your job isn't a character flaw, honey. These things happen. But shutting me out? That hurts. Amanda said it was better not to worry you. Amanda said. What do you say, Brandon? Silence. Then, quietly, I miss you, Mom. The kids ask about you every day. Then let me come for Christmas. I won't increase the mortgage payment, but I want to help you find a new job. I still have connections from my HR days. Good connections. We can make some calls together. Amanda won't like that. Amanda doesn't get to decide if I see my grandchildren. You're their father. What do you want? Another long pause. Come for Christmas, please. So I went. I bought expensive gifts for Emma and Noah. A dollhouse for Emma, with hand-painted furniture. A wooden train set for Noah, with real working whistles. I also wrote a check for $500 to help with their immediate expenses. I tucked it in an envelope with Brandon's name on it. Christmas morning felt cold, despite the decorations. Amanda answered the door with a tight smile. She'd decorated beautifully. Garland on the staircase, lights in every window, a tree that nearly touched the ceiling. But the warmth was artificial. Emma and Noah saved the day. They crashed into my legs with hugs, talking over each other about Santa and cookies and reindeer. I knelt down and held them, breathing in their little kid's smell of syrup and soap. This was why I came. These two perfect people. Dinner was tense. Brandon barely spoke. Amanda was overly cheerful in a way that felt mocking. I helped clean up afterward, And that's when Amanda's mother, Patricia, and sister Lauren arrived. "Surprise," Amanda said brightly. "They wanted to stop by and see everyone." Patricia was a sharp-faced woman in her early 60s who'd never liked me. Lauren was Amanda's younger sister, always glued to her phone. They came into the kitchen where I was washing dishes. "So you're the famous Valerie," Patricia said, no warmth in her voice. "We've met before, Patricia. Several times." "Oh, I know. I've heard all about you." Something in her tone made me put down the dish towel. "What does that mean?" Lauren moved closer, phone in hand. "It means we know what you're doing." "I'm washing dishes." "You're controlling my daughter's family with money," Patricia said. "You forced Brandon to let you co-sign that mortgage so you could own him, so you could always hold it over their heads." "That's not true. I helped them because they needed help, and now you're punishing them by threatening to stop paying. Amanda told us everything. You're using your money like a weapon." My face went hot. Amanda uninvited me from Christmas until I agreed to pay more. She's the one using manipulation. "That's a lie," Lauren said, and I realized she was recording me. Her phone was pointed right at my face. "Stop recording me." "Why? Afraid people will see who you really are? A controlling, manipulative mother-in-law who uses money to dominate her son?" "Put the phone down, Lauren." Patricia stepped closer. "You think you're so generous. But generosity doesn't come with strings attached. You want to control where they live, how they raise their children, every decision they make. You're toxic." "I've never tried to control anything. I've only tried to help." "By making them dependent on you? That's not help. That's abuse." The word hit me like a slap. "Get out of my way." I tried to walk past them, but Patricia blocked me. "You're going to keep paying that mortgage. You're going to increase it like Amanda asked. And you're going to stop interfering in their lives. Or else." "Or else what?" "Or else you'll never see those grandchildren again." I pushed past her and left, grabbed my coat, didn't say goodbye to anyone, and drove home shaking. That night, the video appeared on social media. Lauren had edited it to make me look like a monster. She'd cut out all the parts where they provoked me. In the video, I just looked angry, defensive, and mean. Patricia's accusations were there. Lauren calling me toxic was there. My face, red and furious, was there. But nothing they said to me first was included. Nothing about Amanda's manipulation or the Christmas blackmail. Just me, looking like exactly what they wanted people to see. A horrible mother-in-law. By December 26th, the video had been shared over 2,000 times in our community. I started getting messages. Friends from church asking if I was okay but with an edge of judgment. Neighbors who'd always been friendly now seemed cold. Someone left a comment calling me a narcissistic grandmother who should be ashamed. I sat in my house alone and watched my reputation burn. The days between Christmas and New Year's were the darkest I'd experienced since Frank died. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Most weren't supportive. People I'd known for years, people I'd volunteered with at church and community events, were commenting on that video, sharing it, adding their own judgments. One woman from my book club wrote, "I always thought Valerie was so nice, but I guess you never really know people." Someone else, "Poor Amanda, having to deal with this. No wonder she set boundaries." The word boundaries kept appearing, as if Amanda excluding me from Christmas and demanding more money was healthy boundary setting, as if I was the villain for objecting. I stopped going online, stopped checking messages, but I couldn't stop the way people looked at me at the grocery store on December 28th. A woman I knew from the library actually turned around and walked the other way when she saw me. My best friend Carol came over that afternoon with coffee and pastries. She hugged me at the door. "I saw the video," she said. "And I know there's more to the story." I broke down. Told her everything. The mortgage situation, Amanda's Christmas manipulation, the ambush in the kitchen, how they'd twisted everything to make me look abusive. Carol listened, then said, "That video has been shared over 2,000 times, Valerie. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is affecting your whole life. I don't know what to do." "Fight back," Get the truth out there. But how? Amanda had the video. Amanda controlled the narrative. I was just the villain in her story. On December 29th, I tried calling Brandon again. He didn't answer. I left a message. Please call me. I love you. We need to talk. He didn't call back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Patricia's face in the kitchen. Lauren's phone pointed at me. Amanda's cold smile at the door. The way Brandon wouldn't look at me. At 2 a.m, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw my neighbor Ruth. She was a lawyer, late 50s, usually very professional. But right now, she was standing on my porch in pajamas and a bathrobe. I opened the door. Ruth, what's wrong? I saw that video. The one of you. My stomach sank. Everyone's seen it. I've seen a lot of videos, Valerie. I'm a lawyer. I know when something's been edited deceptively. That video was cut to make you look bad. Where's the beginning? Where's the context? What happened before Lauren started recording? They cornered me. Accused me of terrible things. But that's not in the video. Exactly. This is defamation. You could sue. I can't sue my daughter-in-law. That would destroy any chance of seeing my grandchildren. Ruth nodded slowly. Then demand the full footage. Let people see what really happened. If Amanda refuses, that tells its own story. The next morning, I called Amanda. She answered with false brightness. Valerie, how are you? I want the full video. The entire kitchen conversation. Not the edited version. What are you talking about? Lauren recorded that whole encounter. I want the unedited footage posted. Let people see what your mother and sister said to me first. I don't think that's necessary. I think it's very necessary. My reputation is being destroyed by a lie. Her voice went cold. Maybe your reputation is being destroyed by your own actions. Maybe people are finally seeing who you really are. Post the full video, Amanda, or I'll have my lawyer contact you about defamation. She laughed. Actually laughed. Good luck with that. I didn't record anything. Lauren did. And she's allowed to share what she records. Not if it's been edited to deliberately harm someone. You're being paranoid and hostile. I think we definitely need that space I mentioned. Don't contact us again, Valerie. She hung up. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the phone. 10 minutes later, Brandon called. Finally. Mom. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. Brandon, what's happening? Why won't you talk to me? I need to tell you something. I should have told you before Christmas, but I was too ashamed. Tell me what? Amanda's having an affair. The words hung in the air. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. What? With my old boss. Gary. The one who fired me. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. 8 months. While I was babysitting, while I was paying half their mortgage, while I was trying to be helpful. How do you know? I found text messages 2 days ago. They're planning a future together, Mom. She's going to divorce me. She's been planning it for months. Gary is the one who got me fired. He wanted me out of the picture. Oh, Brandon. The mortgage thing makes sense now. She needs you to keep paying, maybe even pay more, so she can cover the house expenses until the divorce is final. Then she'll get the house in the settlement, because you co-signed, and it's worth so much. She'll sell it, take the equity, and disappear with Gary. My mind raced. Does Amanda know you found out? No. I haven't said anything. I'm scared, Mom. If I confront her, if we divorce, she'll get full custody of Emma and Noah. She'll take them away from me. Her lawyer is better than anything I can afford. Brandon, where are you right now? At my friend Tim's apartment. I've been staying here since Christmas. Can't even be in that house with her anymore. We need to document everything. We need evidence. Of what? The affair? I have the texts. That's a start. But we need more. We need to understand her whole plan. We talked for another hour. Brandon showed me screenshots of the messages between Amanda and Gary. They were explicit. Not just about the affair, but about their plans. Gary promising Amanda they'd start fresh. Amanda talking about the house sale and splitting the equity. One message from Amanda made my blood run cold. Once I get the full mortgage payoff from his mother, we're set. Just need to play nice a little longer. She'd been using me from the beginning. Every smile, every holiday invitation, every time she let me see my grandchildren. It was all manipulation to keep the money flowing. I felt sick, but also clear. For the first time in days, I knew exactly what needed to happen. We're going to fix this, I told Brandon. But we have to be smart. Brandon and I met at a diner on the edge of town on December 30th. He looked terrible, hollow-eyed, pale, like he'd lost 15 pounds in a week. When he slid into the booth across from me, I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "We're going to get through this," I said. "I don't see how. She's got everything. The house, the kids, a plan. A lawyer probably already lined up. I've got nothing. You've got the truth. And you've got me." He showed me more of the text messages on his phone. The conversation between Amanda and Gary went back months. They talked about their relationship like they were already married, made plans for trips, discussed moving to another state once the divorce was final. One exchange hit me particularly hard. "Gary, what about the kids?" "Amanda, Brandon can have supervised visits, maybe once a month. I'll make sure the custody agreement keeps him at a distance." "Gary, and his mother?" "Amanda, she's just a checkbook. Once I'm done with her, she'll never see Emma or Noah again." A checkbook. 3 years of love, support, and presence reduced to a financial transaction. "I want to hire a private investigator," I said. "Document the affair properly. Get evidence we can use in court." Brandon looked uncertain. "That costs money, Mom. Money I don't have. I have it. And I'm going to use it to protect my son and my grandchildren." I'd done research that morning. Found a local investigator named Dennis Chen. He had good reviews, 30 years of experience, and he specialized in domestic cases. I called him from the diner. Dennis met us there 20 minutes later. He was a quiet man in his 60s, took detailed notes, asked good questions. When Brandon showed him the text messages, Dennis nodded. "This is solid evidence of the affair, but in court, we need more. Photos, documentation of meetings, proof of pattern and intent." "Can you get that?" I asked. "I can try." "Does Amanda have a regular schedule?" Brandon told him about Amanda's supposed work late nights. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, she claimed she had to stay at the office. Now we knew those were her nights with Gary. "New Year's Eve is tomorrow," Dennis said. "If they're going to meet, that's a likely time. I'll follow her. Document where she goes, who she's with, how long she stays." We agreed on his fee. I wrote the check without hesitation. That night, I barely slept. Tomorrow was December 31st. The last mortgage payment I'd ever make to Brandon and Amanda's account would process automatically at midnight. After that, they were on their own. Amanda didn't know yet. She'd find out when January's payment didn't appear. New Year's Eve arrived cold and gray. Dennis called me at 4 in the afternoon. "I'm in position. Amanda just left the house. She's driving toward downtown. I'm following at a safe distance. Be careful. Always am." For 2 hours, I heard nothing. I paced my house, made tea I didn't drink, checked my phone every 30 seconds. Brandon was at Tim's apartment doing the same thing. We texted back and forth, neither of us saying much, just staying connected. At 6:15, my phone rang. Dennis. But his voice was stressed. "We have a problem." "What happened?" "Amanda spotted me. I don't know how. I was careful. But she pulled over, got out of her car, walked straight to mine, and confronted me. Asked who I was and why I was following her." My heart sank. "What did you say?" "Nothing, but she took photos of my car, my license plate, and me. Then she called the police." "She what?" "Police are here now. She's claiming I'm stalking her. That you hired me to harass her. I've explained I'm a licensed investigator doing legal work, but this is going to escalate." I closed my eyes. Another disaster. Another plan exploding in my face. What should I do? Nothing tonight. I'll handle the police. But Valerie, she's going to come after you for this. Be prepared. He was right. By 8 o'clock, I had a visit from 2 police officers asking about Dennis. I explained that I'd hired a private investigator to document my daughter-in-law's activities for a potential custody case. It was legal. But the officers looked at me like I was a crazy stalker. They left without charging me with anything. But the damage was done. The next morning, January 1st, I got the notification. Amanda had filed for a temporary restraining order against me. The petition claimed I was engaging in harassment, stalking, and threatening behavior that made her fear for her safety and her children's safety. The court granted it. Effective immediately, I was prohibited from going within 500 feet of Amanda, Brandon's house, or my grandchildren. Violation could result in arrest. I sat on my couch holding the legal papers, feeling everything collapse. I'd tried to help Brandon gather evidence. Instead, I'd given Amanda exactly what she needed: proof that I was dangerous. Within hours, Amanda posted about the restraining order on social media. She didn't use my name, but everyone knew who she meant. Finally got legal protection from someone who wouldn't respect boundaries, praying for peace for me and my babies. The comments poured in. Support for Amanda. Condemnation of the crazy grandmother. People sharing their own stories about toxic in-laws. My name appeared in the comments. Someone linked the Christmas kitchen video. The whole thing spiraled. I was now legally barred from seeing Emma and Noah. My reputation was completely destroyed. And I'd made everything worse by trying to help. Brandon called me sobbing. "Mom, what did we do? We made it worse. Everything's worse." He was right. We'd played right into Amanda's hands. She now had evidence that I was unstable and dangerous. She had a restraining order to use in the divorce. She had public support. She had everything, and I had nothing but shame and failure. The first week of January was the longest of my life. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for January 5th. If the temporary order became permanent, I'd never have legal visitation rights with Emma and Noah. I'd be erased from their lives completely. Ruth, my lawyer neighbor, came over on January 2nd. She sat at my kitchen table reviewing the restraining order petition and shaking her head. "This looks bad, Valerie. Restraining orders for grandparent harassment are taken very seriously. Amanda has documentation. The edited video showing you angry. Police reports about the investigator. Social media posts showing a pattern of what she's calling obsessive behavior. But it's all taken out of context. Everything I did to protect my son and my grandchildren. I believe you. But the court sees a grandmother who was told to stay away, hired a private investigator to stalk her daughter-in-law, and has been publicly accused of manipulation and control. The optics are terrible. What can I do? At the hearing, I'll present your side. But Valerie, you need to prepare for the possibility that the order becomes permanent. Amanda has built a strong case. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, spent hours staring at photos of Emma and Noah on my phone. Emma missing her front teeth, Noah covered in birthday cake. Simple moments I'd taken for granted. Brandon was falling apart too. He called me every day from Tim's apartment, his voice breaking. He'd filed for divorce and was demanding custody. But Amanda's lawyer was already moving aggressively. They wanted full custody, child support, and the house. "She's going to take everything," Brandon said, "and I can't stop her." On January 3rd, everything got worse. Amanda's lawyer sent me a letter. I opened it with shaking hands and read the settlement offer inside. If I agreed to pay off the remaining $215,000 of the mortgage in full, sign over all rights to any claim on the house, drop any defamation claims, and publicly apologize on social media for harassing Amanda, then Amanda would drop the restraining order and allow supervised visitation with the grandchildren once per month. The deadline to accept was January 4th at 5 in the evening, one day before the restraining order hearing. If I refused, Amanda would push for a permanent restraining order with a full no-contact provision. I'd never see Emma and Noah again. I read the letter 3 times. Each time, the rage grew hotter in my chest. This was her plan all along. Every single move had been calculated. The Christmas exclusion to create conflict, the video to destroy my reputation, the restraining order to back me into a corner. And now this. Total financial surrender in exchange for scraps of access to my own grandchildren. $215,000. More than half my retirement savings. Everything Frank and I had worked for. Gone. To a woman who'd betrayed my son, manipulated my family, and lied to everyone. And even if I paid, there was no guarantee. The letter said, supervised visitation once per month. Amanda would still control every interaction. She could cancel visits, make rules, keep me at a distance forever. I'd pay everything and still lose everything. Brandon wasn't even mentioned in the offer. He'd still lose his children in the divorce. Still face child support payments he couldn't afford. Still be destroyed by this woman who'd planned his destruction for months. I called Ruth. Can she do this? Is this legal? It's a settlement offer. Legal, yes. Ethical? No. But she knows you're desperate. She's betting you'll pay anything to see your grandchildren. What if I refuse? Then we go to the hearing tomorrow and hope the judge sees through her manipulation. But Valerie, judges err on the side of caution in these cases. If there's any suggestion you're dangerous, they'll grant the order. I spent January 3rd and 4th in agony. I paced my house, prayed, cried, looked at my bank statements. $215,000. It represented security, freedom, Frank's life insurance, our savings, my future. Could I give it all up? Should I? Carol came over on January 4th at noon. She found me sitting at the kitchen table, still in my pajamas, the letter in front of me. Have you decided? She asked gently. I don't know what to do. If I pay, I'm letting her win. I'm rewarding her manipulation. I'm teaching her that extortion works. But if you don't pay, you lose Emma and Noah. Maybe I lose them anyway. Maybe she takes the money and cuts me off 6 months later. There's no guarantee, Carol. The letter doesn't promise anything permanent. What does Brandon say? He begs me not to pay, but he's desperate and has no solutions. He knows that if I empty my savings for this, I won't have money to help him fight the divorce. He'll lose custody. Amanda will get everything. Carol squeezed my hand. There's no good choice here. She was right. Every option led to loss. Pay and be financially destroyed. Don't pay and lose my grandchildren. Either way, Amanda won. The deadline was 5 p.m, 3 hours away. I stared at the clock, watching minutes disappear. At 2 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Harrison? This is Dennis Chen, the private investigator. I'd barely thought about him since the disaster on New Year's Eve. Dennis, I'm so sorry about what happened. Don't be. I kept investigating after that night. On my own time. Something about this case bothered me. Your daughter-in-law was too prepared, too organized. So I dug deeper. What did you find? Amanda's affair with Gary started 11 months ago. Not 8 months like Brandon thought. But that's not the important part. The important part is that Gary's married. Has been for 14 years. 2 kids, ages 10 and 12. I sat up straight. Does his wife know? No, and there's more. I found discrepancies in Amanda's work records. She's been embezzling money from her employer, small amounts over time. I estimate around $43,000 total over the past year. My breath caught. You can prove this? I have bank records showing deposits to her personal account that don't match her salary. I have testimony from a coworker who noticed missing funds. I have receipts showing Amanda and Gary at expensive restaurants and hotels that she couldn't afford on her income. She's been using the stolen money to fund the affair. Embezzlement is a felony. Yes. If her employer finds out, they'll prosecute. If police find out, she'll be arrested. Prison time is likely. I sat there processing this information. For the first time in weeks, I had power. Real power. I could destroy Amanda's entire life with one phone call. But using that power meant Emma and Noah's mother would go to prison. They'd lose her, be traumatized, grow up with that weight. I don't know if I can do this, I said quietly. Those children. I understand. But, Mrs. Harrison, you have 1 hour until that deadline. You need to decide what you're willing to sacrifice. He gave me his email address where he'd sent all the documentation. Photos, bank records, witness statements. Everything carefully organized and legally obtained. I opened the files on my computer and read through them. The evidence was overwhelming. Amanda had been stealing from her employer for over a year. The affair with Gary was documented with dated photos. Gary's wife and children were named in the report. I had the power to end this, but the cost was unbearable. I called Ruth. What happens if I report the embezzlement? Amanda gets arrested, loses her job, faces felony charges. In a custody case, this would destroy her. Brandon would likely get full custody because the mother would be in prison. And Emma and Noah? They'd be traumatized, confused. Their mother would be gone. It's not a clean solution, Valerie. The clock showed 4:30. 30 minutes until the deadline. I sat at my computer, hands shaking, trying to make an impossible choice. Pay the extortion and lose my savings. Report the crimes and traumatize my grandchildren. Do nothing and lose Emma and Noah forever. There had to be another way. Some path that held Amanda accountable without destroying innocent children. Some way to win without becoming the monster she'd painted me as. At 4:45, an idea came. Dangerous, risky, but possible. I called Ruth. Can you draft a counteroffer? Fast? What kind of counteroffer? I told her my plan. She was quiet for a long moment. That's bold. And it might work. But you have 10 minutes, Valerie. Then type fast. At 4:55, Ruth and I arrived at Amanda's house. Dennis was with us. We knocked on the door at exactly 4:57. Amanda opened it, surprised. What are you doing here? You're violating the restraining order. I'm here with my lawyer to deliver a response to your settlement offer, Ruth said calmly. You gave a deadline of 5 o'clock. We're here with 2 minutes to spare. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Where's the check? There's no check. But there is an alternative proposal. Ruth handed her a folder. You should read it carefully. Amanda opened the folder. Inside was the counteroffer Ruth had drafted, and underneath it, copies of Dennis's investigation, the photos of Amanda and Gary, the bank records showing the embezzlement, a printed document showing Gary's wife's contact information. Amanda's face went white as she read. This is blackmail, she whispered. No, I said quietly. This is accountability. Amanda stared at the documents, her hands trembling. Behind her, I could see Emma playing with dolls in the living room. The television was on. Everything looked so normal, so domestic. But nothing about this situation was normal anymore. You can't use this, Amanda said, her voice shaking. I'll tell everyone you fabricated it, that you're trying to frame me. Ruth stepped forward. The evidence is documented and verified. The investigator obtained everything legally. Your employer doesn't know yet. The police don't know yet. And Gary's wife definitely doesn't know yet. But they can all know very quickly. What do you want? Amanda's face had gone from white to red, rage and fear mixing together. I spoke carefully. I want you to drop all demands. Drop the restraining order. Agree to fair shared custody with Brandon in the divorce. And pay back the embezzled money over time. I'll help you make arrangements with your employer. Private restitution. No police. No public scandal. And if I don't, then everything goes public. Your employer gets notified. Police get notified. Gary's wife gets a phone call tonight. And in the custody battle, a judge will see that Emma and Noah's mother is facing felony charges. Amanda looked between the three of us. You're threatening to take my children away. No, You did that yourself when you stole money and lied to everyone. I kept my voice steady. I'm offering you a way out. A way to keep your children, keep your freedom, and start over. But it requires you to stop the manipulation, stop the extortion, and face what you've done. I've done nothing wrong. Dennis spoke for the first time. The bank records show otherwise, Mrs. Harrison. And the affair with Gary has been ongoing for 11 months. That's documented too. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. Not the calculated crying she'd used before. I can't go to prison. Emma and Noah need me. Then accept the terms, Ruth said. Drop your demands against Valerie. Work out fair custody with Brandon. Make restitution for the money you took. We can help you negotiate with your employer. But you need to agree right now. What about Gary? That's your business, I said. But his wife will be informed either way. She deserves to know. Amanda sank down onto the porch step. For a long moment, she just sat there. Then, quietly, I never meant for it to get this far. But it did. I was angry at Brandon for losing his job. Angry at my life. Gary made me feel special. Made me feel like I could have something better. And the money. She looked up at me. I was desperate. The bills kept piling up. Brandon couldn't find work. I thought if I could just get more from you, we could survive until things got better. So you manipulated me. Used my grandchildren as leverage. Tried to destroy my reputation. I'm sorry. She was crying now. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how else to make things work. You could have asked for help, honestly. You could have been truthful instead of calculating. Ruth handed Amanda a pen and the legal agreement she'd drafted. Sign this. You drop the restraining order. You agree to a fair custody arrangement, and you begin making restitution. In exchange, the evidence stays private. Amanda read through the document with shaking hands. Then she signed. 3 signatures, witnessed by Dennis. What happens now? She asked. Now you call your lawyer and dismiss the restraining order petition. Tonight, Ruth collected the signed papers. And tomorrow, you meet with your employer about the discrepancies. Valerie will go with you. She'll help you negotiate a repayment plan that keeps this out of the courts. Amanda nodded, defeated. I knelt down to her level. I'm not doing this to hurt you, Amanda. I'm doing this to protect my son and my grandchildren. They deserve honesty, they deserve stability, and they deserve better than what you've been giving them. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. We left her sitting on that porch. Drove away as the sun set on January 4th. Tomorrow was the restraining order hearing. But there wouldn't be a hearing anymore. Amanda would withdraw the petition. That night, I got a call from Brandon. Mom, Amanda just called me. She said she's dropping the restraining order. What happened? I told him everything. The investigation, the evidence, the confrontation. His silence on the other end stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Finally, you saved me. We saved each other, honey. But this isn't over. You still have a divorce to navigate, custody to negotiate, your whole life to rebuild. I know. But at least now I have a chance. At least now she can't destroy me completely. She won't, I promise. Over the next few days, the pieces fell into place. The restraining order was officially withdrawn on January 5th. Amanda met with her employer on January 6th with me and Ruth present. We explained the situation carefully. The employer was furious, but agreed to a repayment plan rather than prosecution. Amanda would pay back the $43,000 over 5 years through wage garnishment. She lost her position at the firm, but was allowed to resign quietly. No criminal charges, no public scandal, just private consequences. Gary's wife Jessica learned about the affair when Gary himself confessed. Apparently, Dennis had contacted Gary directly and given him a choice. Tell your wife yourself, or we will. Gary chose to come clean. His marriage didn't survive it, but at least Jessica got the truth. Amanda and Gary's relationship ended immediately. Whatever fantasy they'd built together couldn't survive the reality of their exposed lies. Brandon filed for divorce with a proper attorney. I paid the retainer. The custody arrangement was negotiated through mediation. 50-50 shared custody. Emma and Noah would spend equal time with each parent. Fair support payments based on actual income. No more manipulation. The house had to be sold. Neither Brandon nor Amanda could afford it alone. And honestly, that house had become toxic anyway. Too many lies had lived in those rooms. The equity was split evenly in the divorce. Brandon took his share and found a modest two-bedroom apartment close to his new job. I'd helped him get that job through a former colleague. Construction work. Good pay. Honest labor. He furnished the apartment simply. Emma and Noah each got their own room, decorated with their favorite colors. Brandon built them bookshelves, painted murals on the walls, made it home. Through all of this, I never made another mortgage payment. Gerald had stopped the transfers on January 1st, just as I'd instructed. I'd kept my word to myself. I wouldn't be extorted, wouldn't be manipulated. I'd spent $30,000 on legal fees and the private investigator. But I'd protected my family, protected my dignity, and most importantly, protected Emma and Noah from growing up in a house built on lies. The next Christmas looked nothing like the one before. I hosted at my house this time. Not the big house Brandon and Amanda had lost. Not some neutral restaurant. My house. The house where Frank and I raised Brandon. The house filled with real memories. Brandon arrived early on Christmas morning with Emma and Noah. The kids ran inside carrying presents they'd wrapped themselves, paper crooked and tape everywhere. Perfect. Emma was 6 now, missing more teeth, growing like a weed. Noah was 4, still obsessed with trains, still gave the best sticky hugs. We made breakfast together. Pancakes with chocolate chips. The kitchen was loud with their laughter. Brandon looked different. Healthier. 20 pounds heavier than his lowest point. Color in his face. Real smiles. He'd been working construction for 11 months. Saved money. Started therapy. Figured out who he was outside of Amanda's manipulations. He was dating someone new. Sarah. A teacher. Kind. Genuine. Nothing like Amanda. Sarah came for Christmas dinner. Brought homemade pie. Played games with Emma and Noah. Didn't try too hard. Just existed easily in our space. I watched my son with his children and his new girlfriend and felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. Amanda wasn't there. She had the kids on Christmas Eve. We'd have them Christmas Day. That was the arrangement. Clean, fair, no drama. I'd seen Amanda a few times over the past year during kid exchanges. We were civil, barely. She was working as a receptionist now, living in a small apartment, paying back the money she'd stolen, facing the consequences of her choices. I didn't hate her. Honestly, I mostly felt sad for her. She'd destroyed her own life trying to take shortcuts and manipulate people. She'd lost Gary, lost her career, lost the house, lost respect. All because she couldn't be honest. Emma and Noah seemed okay. Therapy helped. The routine of 2 houses, 2 bedrooms, 2 Christmases took some adjustment. But kids are resilient. They adapted. They still laughed. Still played. Still loved both their parents. After dinner, after presents, after Sarah and the kids were in the living room watching a movie, Brandon and I did dishes together. "I never thanked you properly," he said, hands in soapy water. "For what?" "For fighting for me. For us. You could have paid Amanda's extortion. Could have walked away. But you didn't. You're my son. Emma and Noah are my grandchildren. Of course I fought. A lot of people wouldn't have. They'd have chosen the easy path." I dried a plate carefully. There was no easy path, Brandon. Every choice was hard. Every decision came with cost. I just tried to choose the path that led somewhere real. It worked. It almost didn't. I made mistakes. The investigator situation. The timing. I nearly made everything worse. But you didn't give up. That's what matters. We finished the dishes in comfortable silence. Then Brandon turned to me. I learned something through all this, Mom. I learned I'd been letting people make decisions for me my whole life. First you and Dad, then Amanda. I never really figured out what I wanted, who I was. And now? Now I'm figuring it out. It's messy and hard, but it's mine, my life, my choices, my consequences. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. You taught me that love doesn't mean enabling. It means standing up, setting boundaries, fighting for what's right, even when it costs everything. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat in my quiet house, surrounded by wrapping paper and dishes and the good kind of exhaustion. I thought about the previous Christmas, about standing on Amanda's porch being rejected, about the rage and hurt and desperation. I thought about what I'd learned in the years since. I'd learned that helping someone doesn't mean solving all their problems. It means giving them tools to solve their own problems. I'd enabled Brandon and Amanda's dependence by paying their mortgage, by always being there with money and solutions. I thought I was being generous, but really, I was preventing them from growing up. I'd learned that boundaries aren't cruelty. They're love expressed clearly. When I stopped the mortgage payments, when I refused to be extorted, when I held Amanda accountable, I wasn't being mean, I was being honest. And honesty is the truest form of love. I'd learned that reputation isn't the same as character. When that video went viral, when people turned against me, when my reputation was destroyed, I learned that what others think matters less than what I know to be true. My character stayed intact, even when my reputation didn't. I'd learned that power used wisely isn't the same as manipulation. I'd had power through the mortgage. I'd had power through the evidence against Amanda. But I used that power to create fairness, not control. I used it to protect, not destroy. Most importantly, I'd learned that being excluded from one Christmas led me to fight for many more. If Amanda hadn't rejected me that December day, I never would have stopped the payments. Never would have discovered the affair. Never would have found the courage to stand up to her manipulation. That one painful moment became the catalyst for everything that followed. Sometimes, the worst things lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes loss leads to freedom. Sometimes destruction leads to rebuilding something stronger. I pulled out my phone and looked at a photo from today. Emma and Noah on either side of Brandon, all three of them laughing at something Sarah said. Real laughter, unforced, genuine. This was worth it. Every hard decision, every difficult conversation, every moment of uncertainty. This right here was worth everything. I thought about Frank, about what he'd say if he could see me now. He'd probably laugh at the whole situation, tell me I was always too stubborn for my own good. But he'd be proud too. Proud that I stood up. Proud that I protected our son. Proud that I didn't let fear make my decisions. I missed him every day. But I'd survived his loss, survived the loneliness, survived Amanda's manipulations, survived my own mistakes, and I'd done more than survive. I'd grown. Next week, I'd start volunteering at the community center, teaching, resume, writing to people looking for work, sharing the skills I'd spent 30 years developing in human resources, helping others the right way, not by solving their problems, but by teaching them how to solve their own. Carol and I were planning a trip in the spring, 2 weeks in Colorado, hiking, fresh air, adventure. Sarah had invited me to her school's art show in February. Emma was excited to show me her classroom. Brandon was coaching Noah's soccer team this summer. Asked if I'd come to games. Life was moving forward, different than I'd imagined. Smaller in some ways, bigger in others, but real, solid, true. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's just fear dressed up as generosity. Real strength isn't about controlling others through money or manipulation. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything you thought you wanted. And sometimes, The people who try to take everything from you end up teaching you what truly matters. Not the money you can give, but the truth you're brave enough to tell. I wasn't the same woman who stood on that porch on December 20th. I was stronger, wiser, more careful with my love, but more generous with my truth. And I was exactly where I needed to be. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved tried to manipulate you? Where you had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for what was right? What did you do? How did you find the courage to set boundaries, even when it cost you something precious? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Sometimes sharing our experiences helps others who are facing similar battles. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you think, or feel, or remember your own struggles, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with family manipulation. Someone who needs to know they're not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope your holidays are filled with genuine love, honest connections, and the courage to stand up for what's right. May your new year bring clarity, strength, and the wisdom to know the difference between enabling and empowering. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you're stronger than you think.